Welcome to another edition of the Manual. It's 2023. Happy New Year
New
to
Year.
everybody. It's a new year.
New
So,
mercies.
new mercies. Yep. So, what have we seen so far
Woo,
in
woo.
2023? Man, did you see?
Well,
I
we won't
think,
start.
I think we have to start with DeMar Hamlin.
We do.
We have to start with DeMar Hamlin. And it's real interesting because it's one of those situations where everybody kind of remembers where you were when this took place.
Yes.
So I was on the road coming home,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother called me because I didn't want to start watching the game because I wanted to get home because I had it
Sure.
recorded, so I was a little bit behind. And so I'm on the way to the house. My mother called me. She said, "Did something happen to one of the players on the field?" I said, "I saw a glimpse of it." And I said,
Right.
"I think somebody just got hurt." But
Right.
she said, "Well," she said, "I don't know." She said, "All right, I'm gonna call you back later."
Mm-hmm.
So then I get home and I turn the game on. And so I'm watching everything get up to those moments. And
Right.
then, I see the hit and that he's down. And it's been, so I know he's been down for a minute. And I'm like, okay, you know what's going on.
Right.
And then when you start seeing grown men cry,
Yes.
you're like, something's wrong.
I
And
know.
something's really wrong
I
here.
know.
And I've seen players cry when they see, had another
Sure.
injury.
This was different, though.
This was real different.
Really different.
It was real different. And then when the announcers, Aikman and Buck, they said that they administered CPR on
Yeah.
the field.
Yeah.
We were like, whoa.
Whoa. Yeah. It was like it's one of those things where you don't know the person. You're not a fan of necessarily the franchise, even though I do like the Bills. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the Cowboys. I mean,
We'll get to them.
but no. In all seriousness, it is you immediately, just as a human,
Mm-hmm.
your heart goes out,
Right.
because while no one wanted to say it, the likelihood that he would die was higher than the likelihood that he would live.
Yes.
Based on the information that we had and what we could see.
Right.
Bottom line is, you deliver CPR, and I read it somewhere, I forget who said it, but they said he died on the field.
Yeah. They
Right.
said,
That's fundamentally.
They said he coded on the
He
field.
died on the field. They resuscitated him twice. Once on the field, and I think once back at the hospital. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this young man passed away in front of our eyes.
Wow.
24 years old, by all accounts, healthy and doing and living out his dream.
Right.
And he passed away.
Right.
Now they brought him back, thank God.
Yes. Yes. But what was so interesting is my first response as a believer was pray.
Pray.
Say, "Oh God, what's going on with this situation?" And you start praying for the young man. But the prayer response that took place in this moment,
Yes.
all over seemingly the world, was amazing.
Right.
I mean, you had people that were expressing faith and praying. I'm presuming to God,
Right.
to the God of the Bible, that are praying, and people start praying everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
What this also did, which I thought was amazing, was it went beyond prayers and thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because we have the
Positive energy.
Yes, the political correctness of everything, and say our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Not even prayers.
Say our thoughts are with
Our
you.
thoughts are with you.
Uh-huh.
Right. Our well wishes are with
Right.
you. Those
right.
types of things. Yeah.
Right, but these people were saying prayer, and then I want to call his name Dan Orlovsky.
Dan Orlovsky. Yep.
I watched him on a show, and he said, "Well, we say thoughts and prayers, but I want to pray
Mm-hmm.
and
Now.
right now, on ESPN, and prayed."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, and I thought we were having. So this was last week was our week of consecration. So we were having prayer every night at the church in exhortation, and our church was praying for DeMar Hamlin, as well as some other things. And I thought to myself, how cool is it that people all over the world who do not know you are praying for you?
Right. Could it be that God uses these moments periodically, for as tragic as they feel at the time, to remind you of your need for Him?
Wow. Yes.
Could it just simply be, y'all need to remember that I am God.
Yeah, I am God. I am God. And if you call upon me, I will answer
I will
you.
answer you.
The other thing that we bring up in this situation is mortality came into play,
Yes, it did.
which makes us start to think, okay, now what about my own life?
Mm-hmm.
Where am I? What happens when I die?
Yeah.
Or what am I paying too much attention to in this life
Mm-hmm.
that's keeping me from having the best life I can have?
That's right. That's right. And may keep you from eternal life, depending on what it is.
Absolutely, it could.
Right.
This is the manual. So we're talking this week. We looked at the situation with Damar Hamlin and what happened to him, and talked a little bit about our mortality and just kind of dealing with what situations keep us separated so that we're not closer, we're not bonded, we're letting stuff keeping us from having the life we're supposed to have,
Mm-hmm.
or even getting to the life we're
That's
supposed
right.
to have.
That's right.
So what is that?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that has to do with offense. We heard an amazing message on offense on this past Sunday from Pastor
Yesterday.
Robin
Mm-hmm.
Ricks from Christ Our King Church in Bell Fountain, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And he said something that literally is life-changing when it comes to offense, because everybody gets offended.
Absolutely.
No matter who you are, everybody.
Yep.
And he said something. He said, if you stay close enough to me long enough, I will something
offend you. Absolutely.
Eventually to offend you. It could be to a great or lesser degree, but it's just something.
Mm-hmm.
Something can be said, just not understood,
Mm-hmm.
and it's how it made you feel and whatever that moment. But he said the hardest thing about offense is facts.
Mm-hmm.
I said, wow. Not the things that you thought occurred.
The things you know occurred. Now,
actually occurred.
Now let's draw a line here, because some of us are offended without facts.
Right.
So if we can keep it all the way real, we live in such a bubble that we anticipate being done wrong. We anticipate, based on some of maybe our historical experiences and the way we were raised, we're on the defense and we seek out offense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we expect it so much, and there's this self-fulfilling prophecy that comes with it, right? That's not what he's talking about.
No.
Right. So that's a different issue. You if you can be offended without the information, then there might be something you got to work on there. That's a little bit different.
You got something totally different going on.
Right. But what happens when you're offended and factually you have every reason to be?
Every reason.
Yep, he did it. Yep, she said it. Yep, whatever.
Mm-hmm. This event actually took place.
Yes.
So what do you do with that?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was amazing, because that's where a lot of people are.
Mm-hmm.
Something that has happened to you in your past,
mm-hmm.
That a family member that has done, a coworker has done, that somebody who has done something actual to
mm-hmm.
you, something that hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
It's an actual fact that it occurred. What do you do with that?
Before we unpack what do you do, which is probably a difficult question to answer
mm-hmm.
for some situations,
mm-hmm.
right? What I also wonder is, have we in some cases grown so comfortable living with the offense that we don't even realize we're offended?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. So because I'm sitting there and obviously but I won't share here, because I'm sitting here going through this thing in my mind. I'm like, am I over it?
Mm.
Am I really over it?
Mm-hmm.
Or have I just decided to be okay with being offended?
Right. And just let the offense stay, and I just keep functioning.
It may sound like a bit of a nuance, but I think there's some spiritual health and maybe even some eternal health wrapped in it.
Yes.
Right. So in other words, the tough part about offense, and even before you figure out how to deal with it, is first recognizing it, right? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes offenses are so normal that you don't even realize you're operating in an offended posture.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so now you have a situation where you're offended, rightfully so, from the facts. And by the way, one of the things that and he didn't say it this way. This is me. This is my head. But he was like, and God don't care nothing about your facts. Now, he didn't say God doesn't care. This is me saying God doesn't care, because he really doesn't.
Right.
He does not. He did. I just want to make sure I don't put those words in his mouth. Right?
Yeah. It's we'll bring context.
We'll bring context. Right.
Okay.
But the point is, so now you're offended, rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now other relationships, frankly, other decisions you need to make are all impacted by the offense, whether you realize it or not.
Absolutely.
Right. And maybe, just maybe, the person that offended you is unable, maybe they passed away,
right,
or unwilling to fix it.
Right.
But you still have an obligation to release it.
Absolutely. So I thought that he used an incredible biblical piece of history for that. He talked about Achan, and so children of Israel gone into Canaan, walls fell down, go in, take over the city. There's other territory that they need to take over. God says, bring everything. I want you to bring the first of everything to me. But Achan takes some of the jewels, some of the treasures, and he goes to and hides and digs some of the hides in his tent. What's interesting is that life was going on, but they couldn't get the victories they needed because of what was hidden.
They couldn't stand up to their enemies.
They couldn't
the exact phrase
they
said.
They could not stand up to their enemies, and so sometimes we keep going on with life, but we can't stand up to our greatest enemy because we're not willing to go back and dig up the thing that is holding us hostage, to get rid of that thing that has us offended.
That's right. That's right.
Yet we still function.
Yes.
So there was some functionality,
absolutely,
but no victory over your enemies.
Functionality versus victory.
Absolutely.
Right.
And
you didn't die, but you didn't win.
Right. And so there are a lot of people, I think, that are functioning but not winning.
And that's the problem. Because it doesn't kill you, you don't realize you didn't win.
Right.
Right. We talked last week in the week of prayer about conditional will and unconditional will. Right. And so just for context for the audience, as you pray, there are things that we don't necessarily know what is God's conditional and unconditional will, which is why the Bible tells us to pray without ceasing, right? But there are things that unconditional will that he will do regardless of what we do.
No matter what you
doesn't
do
matter. He's not waiting on you to co-sign it. He don't need your approval. He don't need you to show up in your prayer closet. It's going to happen.
It's going to do
But there are other things that he's purposed in your life that then require an action from you. So his will is set. The timing of it is up to you.
Right.
Right. And so as I'm tying a couple of things together, and so now you're praying because you are facing the biggest foe of your life. Right. But yet that thing that's buried is hindering
you,
the timing of your victory.
What do you do? What do you do when your spouse has offended you, yet you got to keep on with the relationship?
Got to keep on.
You still let the relationship go, but you've not gone back to deal with the offense, which keeps you from having a victorious marriage.
Right.
You have a marriage that is functioning.
That's right.
But it does not have victory. Which in many cases will end up over time, ends up in separation or divorce because we've never dealt with the
infidelity.
Infidelity. Yeah, that is right. Starting to build your lives separately. This is hers and this is mine. And we miss the opportunity to have spectacular relationships because we won't deal with the offense.
Won't deal with it. And if the offense is significant enough, there's physical impacts to us too. If that offense has you twisted up enough, so now we're moving past I'm offended and forgot about it. No, you offended and you're living in the offense. And and one of the things I thought was really, really good that he said was he talked about him being offended. Yet he's the man of God that's supposed to teach on offense.
Power and faith.
Let me tell you something. I know sometimes we stand in this pulpit and act like we got this thing all figured out and don't have any issues, but Harvard Chip Rice. We are not exempt from any of these things.
Absolutely. Stuff can happen that hurts you.
It hurts you.
And it's
deeply.
factual.
Yes.
It is stuff. It was actual stuff that was said or done that is factual, and yet I have to keep functioning in this position for what it is I'm supposed to do.
Right. Right.
Not realizing that if I can get the key to overcoming offense, then I can now have victory in these areas.
That's
and
right.
this is not something that keeps looming large in my life.
Right.
So what he said was, he went to Revelation 5 and he talked about how that all the people that went on the earth, every tongue, every nation, every all the different the two genders. He said, but they all said the same thing. All of them. He said it's estimated it was at least 27 billion people. They all said the same thing, that we are redeemed. He said they went up there talking about, what happened to them and this happened. He said they all said the same thing, that we are redeemed. And so when I've been redeemed by the blood of Christ, then that means that God is not going to take into consideration my offense.
Right. That's right.
Because he redeemed us through his blood.
That's right.
For everything we offended him with.
Correct.
And so now the expectation is that, okay, since I've done that from you, I want you to do that.
I need you to pay it forward.
Right.
Right.
Now all those other scriptures that we hear, if your brother offends you,
right,
then he 7 times 70 makes sense now.
Yes.
Because since I've been redeemed by Christ, then I now have the ability to release anybody that's offended me.
I should have the ability.
No, you
have the ability. I should have the inclination.
Yes.
Yes, I'm with you.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
And so that's where now we have to take responsibility, because the power is available.
That's right. So that's when he's not through with me yet. No, that's got to go out the window. He's still working on me.
He's still working on me.
That's right. He's still working on me too. But what happens should you die in your offense?
Wow.
Right. So he ain't, because he's not working on you after that.
No.
Now it's time for you to pay the piper for whatever your situation might be. Right. And so let's deal with the most difficult one. The person can't or is unwilling to fix it, and you're offended. How do you fix that? How do you fix that?
One of my famous statements, don't go out there and try to take it and use it for anything. One of my famous statements is, you can't make a grown person do anything.
Correct.
You can't make a grown person do anything.
Nope.
You can ask, but then after that point, it turns into force or manipulation. You can't make them do anything.
Correct.
So now that means that if I can't make you change, then I'm the one that's going to have to change.
Correct.
Something's going to have to change in me.
That's right.
In order for me to have the success I'm supposed to have.
Right.
I can't keep saying this is what they did, this is what they did, this is what they did. Especially if they're unwilling to confront it or even apologize for it.
Correct.
You can't make them do it. So now I got to do something.
That's right.
I have to now release you.
That's right.
From whatever it is that you did for me. I have to forgive you and move on from this thing. How do you do that? I do that through the power of God in me that helps me remember I'm redeemed.
That's good.
That's big. That's big answer. Okay.
That's good. But I'm hurt, offended. Let me stay with the right word. I'm offended. This joker don't care. Is moving on with their life. They might even look like they're being blessed in their life. And I'm sitting here offended. I believe. I pray about it. Ain't nothing changing.
So let me ask you this then. Did your life stop when you were offended?
No.
Some of the problem with offense is you believing they're going to continue to get away with it. That nothing happened to them or nothing seemingly
No
happened to-
consequence
yeah.
for them offending you.
Right,
hmm
right.
hmm
And here's what I tell my wife a whole lot of times in certain situations. I say, honey, our life is still going on. We
Mhm.
have to keep living.
Yes.
I said, but honey, they didn't stop us from taking this trip to Jamaica.
No.
They didn't stop us from going to the grocery store and getting some. So if my life is going to go on, I can't keep focusing on what I think should happen to you.
Correct.
Because now what that does is say, okay, now I want to be God,
Mhm.
and I want you to bear the consequence of what it is that you did to me.
Absolutely.
She asked me a question last night because there was something that had deeply I mean, when I say it has a huge bearing on our life,
Mhm.
and she said, what if they get away with it? I said, wow. I said, the only thing that we can rely on at this point is the justice of God.
That's right. That's right.
Because if God is righteous, if God is just, nobody gets away with anything. Either he saves you from it,
hmm
he punishes you for it, but I can't spend all of my time focused on what he's going to do to them.
hmm
I got to say, okay, how has he made my life better?
Right.
We don't have anywhere in the Bible where it says that God went back and got Potiphar's wife
hmm
for lying on Joseph.
That's right. That's right. So that's what I was about to say. I think part of it also depends on how you define get away with it.
Hmm.
Right. What we know is God can and will redeem even the person that offended you,
He could, right. Yeah, what if
providing they do their part.
What does he do if he decides to save and bless them? And I said, honey, is it really right for us to want somebody to go to hell?
Right.
I mean,
Well, not only is it really right, you don't have the authority to do it anyway. Listen, the thief on the cross, by all accounts, lived his life as an unbeliever.
absolutely.
And right before he's about to die, he says,
All the person he stole, he's a thief.
Thief.
So he's stolen from somebody, impacted somebody else's
That's
life in some kind of way.
absolutely.
Hmm.
And most people say, if you lie, you'll steal.
Mm-hmm.
If you steal, you kill. So if we know he's a thief, we know he's a liar.
Yeah, there's a lie in there somewhere.
And he might have killed and got away with it. He just wasn't persecuted for that crime.
Right.
So we just expanded. But the point is simply, in his moments, in his final moment, he said, remember me.
Wow.
And the response that our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ gave,
The one who knows everything,
said, today, you will be with me in paradise. So, depending on how you view getting away with it,
mm-hmm.
the consequence may never meet what you secretly hope for.
Right.
Now, I do believe that in this life, in this natural life, there is certainly a reaping for things you sow.
Yes.
We see that God can forgive you, but it doesn't necessarily stop the natural consequence of the decisions you make,
Mm-hmm.
right? But he's also sovereign,
Right.
which means there may not be one that matches what we think should happen. And we just got to get over it.
I'm listening to you say this and I'm thinking to myself, maybe he was paying his consequence on the cross.
Correct.
Maybe he was paying for what he did in being crucified.
And crucified.
But that did not mean that he could not have eternal life.
Right. And you get to heaven and there he is. And are you going to say, well, hold on, Jesus.
Right. What are they doing here?
Why are they here?
No, because then they'll say, why are you here?
Exactly. Because I guarantee you this. If you look deep enough, especially in offense, there's not a person walking the face of this earth. Even Jesus offended people.
Absolutely.
There's
He
never
even
been.
said, "Woes that offenses may come." So he knows that not only was he going to offend, it's going to happen.
And sometimes you are on the receiving end, and sometimes you on the giving end.
Yep.
But it's still an offense.
It's still an offense.
Boy, we could do a series on this one.
Wow. We might have to jump on this one
Yeah.
in the coming week because there are probably people who are watching us that have been offended and really dealing with this thing, and you're trying to figure out in your mind, what is it? How do I do it? How do I love somebody I hate?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll pick that up
Yeah.
on next week. Wow, this has been another edition of the Manual. Check us out on Facebook at the Manual for You. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitter and Instagram. Love to have your comments. Tell us your thoughts. How do you think about this offense thing? How do you handle it? What do you do under those circumstances? Even give us, your scenarios if you choose to. But yeah, it's a real topic right here.
It's a real topic.
It's a real topic. Wow. Yeah. It's been another edition of The Manual. He is the Professor Alton Woods. I'm Chip Rice, and we'll see you next time.